Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you want to see the new mini cut and emboss machine in action, keep watching, just saying. Anyway, my name is Yuille and I am from Old Stables Crafts, and today I have got a Christmas card for you using the Peaceful Boughs stamp set and the matching Peaceful Boughs dies. Now these are in, Beautiful Bough dies. These are in the annual catalogue, not the August-December catalogue. The August-December catalogue is, the stock levels are just, I can't keep on top of them. So in order to bring you recorded projects, I'm reverting to the annual catalogue for the moment, certainly as far as Christmas projects are concerned. So Peaceful Boughs, beautiful stamp set. I love these fir cones, they are just gorgeous. And the dies, now the dies do cut out the fir cones and they cut out the two sentiments. They do not cut anything else from the stamp set. They can basically stand on their own, just so you know. And in fact, I will be showing you just how beautifully they stand on their own later in the video. So, first of all, I am going to make the card. And the card I am making is this one. I've just realised I need to grab my ribbon, which is the crinkle ribbon. Ooh, might need to order some more of that. So, this is using soft sea foam and Sahara sand. Had to think about that for a moment. Some of the crinkle seam binding and some of the elegant faceted gems. Oh, and I've got a little trick on the die cut, which is why I'll be using the mini die cutter. But first I thought, because I've run out of Sahara sand layers, I thought I would show you how I cut my layers. So this is International A4. If you're in North America, your card is slightly wider and slightly shorter. So these measurements do not impact on you. These are purely for those of us who use International A4. Now this is what I would call my standard first layer, which is this one. And I'm one of those weird people who uses metric card, but in inches. So for me, this is going to be cut at 3 7/8. And this is how I cut all of my layers. So I do 3 7/8 on one piece and 3 7/8 on the other. And that leaves me with this strip, which is great for smaller sentiments. So don't throw that away. I keep it in a wallet with all my other bits of spare card. And then this I'm going to cut at 5 5/8. So that's 1 and 2, just in the camera. And again, we've got a small piece which we can keep for a small sentiment. Great for things like itty bitty birthday, itty bitty Christmas, those sorts of greetings. And then again, 5 5/8 twice. So really quick to cut 4 layers. So this would be ready for 4 cards. So that is what I would call my standard first layer. Then I've also got a standard first layer in white. And I'm using the word white very advisedly because, just in case you haven't heard, Whisper White, unfortunately, the company that has been making it for us for years, has had to go out of business because of the pandemic. Stampin' Up have found an alternative manufacturer who uses a slightly different process. So rather than calling it Whisper White, they're going to call it Basic White. Some Whisper White products have already sold out because this was announced last week. There is a limit of 2 of any of the items per order. So while stocks last, you can order 2 of whatever is still available. After that, it will be a question of waiting for the Basic White to be in stock, which we're hoping won't be terribly long. The Basic White has been tested both by Stampin' Up, their concept artists, and by demonstrators, and they've all said they're very happy with it. So fingers crossed, we will all still be very happy with it. Right, so this is the same size as my Sahara Sand layer, and I have deliberately left it the same size before I've stamped, and I will explain why as we go along. Now I've got all of my bows, 3 of them, all of my bows on blocks ready to go. So let me grab my soft sea foam and we will go. I don't need that on my work surface. Let's pop that out of the way. So this is going to be full strength soft sea foam. Soft sea foam is a wonderful, soft, surprisingly soft colour. So I'm going to come in at the top corner first. So there. And then I'm going to come in the other side, but at more of an angle. So we're coming like that. So that's those. Then I'm going to grab my medium-sized bow, and this is going to come in and fill in this area here. This tucks in quite nicely. I'm not overlapping any of my stamps. I'm just going for... Fortunately, we're going to be trimming down because I've gone off, haven't gone far enough over, but it's okay. It's not a problem. Then I'm going to come in here with this one. So again, I'm filling in this space a bit. So there, and then we just need the single bow to fill in down in this corner here. Like that. So that's all of the bows. So I can get rid of my soft sea foam because I don't need that for anything else. Sahara Sand. Now Sahara Sand is a colour that I don't often grab, and I don't know why. It's perfect for this. So I've got my large fir cone, and I'm going to pop that into this space up here, and I need my head to be where the camera currently is, so I'll do my best. Now this softens down a lot. It dries a lot lighter. So one there, and then I'm going to bring my 2 small fir cones. I'm going to have a small fir cone down here and a small fir cone there. Now while I've got my Sahara Sand out, I'm also going to bring in a scrap of Whisper White for my greeting. So I'm just using Season's Greetings, and I'm just going to stamp that towards one edge of my piece of Whisper White. So that is all of the stamping done. So this is where I have to now avoid touching the stamps because they're going to be wet. Right, okay, so I'm going to trim this down. So you may be wondering why I didn't trim it down to begin with. And I find that when I'm doing this sort of layout, that it's much easier to trim down after I've finished, because then I can, so this I'm not really very happy with, so I can take my my trim here, and obviously there I'm not very happy. I'm not lyrical with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off 1/4 of an inch in total. I'm kind of happy with what's going on down there, I think, but I'm going to start by taking off 1/8 of an inch on each of the 4 sides, and I'm measuring here. 1/8 of an inch is the first, let me zoom in a bit. 1/8 of an inch is the first marking here. So 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to leave that one for a moment, and 1/8 of an inch here. So I now know that I've got this is the length I want it, and it's down to 5 3/8. And the question now is, am I going to trim from there or from there? It's 6 2/3, but I think I'm going to trim my last 1/8 of an inch from the same edge. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't stopped and done an 1/8 of an inch from each side. So let me just come back out again. And that's going to give me a wider than my usual gap around the side. So it's going to be quite a nice wide Sahara sand layer. I'm going to pop some liquid adhesive onto my Sahara sand, and this is where I'm wondering whether I should have got out a different, let me find a different glue, because that one doesn't want to play ball for the moment. So now apparently nor does this one. There we go. I like to put my glue, if I'm using the white, I like to put my glue on the coloured cardstock. I find it is less likely to crinkle my white. Not that it crinkles it much, but sometimes it can just leave a sort of, not a lump, just a sense that it was there. So this is actually the way up that we're going to have it. Then I've got a scrap of Sahara sand. I've got my sentiment and my die. Let me grab my die, which I'm hoping I put away. I did. Hurrah! So this is my die that I'm going to use, and I'm going to bring in my ever so cute mini die cutter, which as a demonstrator I'm able to purchase as part of our pre-order. So got a thinner base plate than the larger one, and then obviously we've got a narrower gap. The plates are about 3 inches wide, so they will take quite a decent sized die, and they will also take the mini embossing folders. And when you buy your mini die cutter, you get the cutting plates, the base plate, and both embossing folders, so the one you need for both standard and 3D. So you basically have everything you need. The magnetic base plate isn't available for either machine at the moment because they're having to do some more tests on it. So yeah, I won't put this away just yet because I'm going to need it again. So that is my sentiment die cut. Let me just grab my take your pick and get rid of the 2 little squares that come out of the end. So that's our sentiment, nicely cut. And I want to be able to pop that onto a Sahara sand mat that is longer than this. So I've got my die, I've got my piece of Sahara sand, and I'm going to pop my top plate into my machine and stop it before it gets to the end of the die. So the edge of my cutting plate is not, it's quite away from the end of the die. And I'm going to roll it through. I'm not going to go all the way. I'm going to roll it through and roll it back. And the reason I do that is you can end up slightly warping your die, which is what happened. I am teaching you from my lesson. I found that I was bending my die. Learn from my lesson. Then I'm going to do the same again, and I'm going to line my die up into the holes, or the track if you like, so I'm lining it up so that the cutting edge, can you see the cutting edge is on that straight line that's already been cut. And then what I'm going to do is bring in my sentiment, just make sure that the placement is about where I want it. And I want about, it's not a science, it's an art. I want this so that there's a bit of a gap, but not a huge gap between the point and the hole. So this is about where I want it. Just make sure that's lined up. You can use a bit of washi tape if you want. I'm going to go for it. And again, I'm going to pop my top plate so that it's... Oop. Washi tape might be the answer. Let me grab a little bit of washi tape. See, I've done this a number of times this afternoon and it worked fine. Put it into action on film and that's when the problems start. So I want to come slightly closer. So that's going to go there, that's going to go there, that should be fine. I'm going to pop my washi tape over that end, so the far end. Get my base plate and cutting plate in, put my top cutting plate on top and roll in. And again, I'm going to stop before it goes all the way, just to preserve my die. Come back, just check that it's all die cut, which it is, and there we have our extended mat, and then this fits nicely on top. So let me just take that off before I throw this away and throw the die away with it. Not that I've ever done that before. Pop this away. This now lives on my desk because it is so small, it takes up very little surface, so it's perfect to keep on your work surface. Right, crinkle seam binding, which it's quite chilly here at the moment, which means that it's full of static because it's that sort of weather. So I'm going to come up and then I'm going to go down, so up from the bottom into the white, and then again out from the white, come on. Why is it the moment the camera goes on I become all thumbs and no fingers? And into the bottom, and then pull that, make sure there's no twist. Don't want a twist in an ideal world, or a fold indeed. So that's folded on top of itself and it will just flatten out and become a nice little feature if I'm lucky on camera. Thank you. Right, okay, so that's that roughly. Bring in this, and I want this over to one side a little, so I don't need quite that much, but we'll cut there anyway. So cut there, and then I'm going to just grab my glue and just pop a little bit. Now you could use a glue dot or something like that, but I just want a little bit of glue on the inside of the two layers. The joy of glue, of course, is that there is a little bit of wiggle room, so it's a little bit easier to sort out. Right, so that's my glue. Then I just want to make sure that I'm reasonably central on my Sahara sand, which I am, and then that's going to go there with some dimensionals on the back. And I reckon that 3 is a perfect number for that. How are we doing time-wise? 20 minutes, good grief. Right, and then I'm just going to do this by eye. You can, if you want, get a T rule out. I'm going to do it by eye, like that. And this is where the static actually helps, because it's sticking to the card. Right, I'm using Seal Plus because it's a nice strong adhesive, which is great when you are sticking ribbon down. And again, just hold it up, tuck it underneath, and same again. And then for the front, I'm going to take a piece of ribbon and tie a double bunny ear bow. Now, I tried this earlier by cutting a piece of ribbon and I ended up with too short a piece of ribbon. Just saying. So I'm going to make sure I've got my roll still attached this time. I'm going to go from the sublime to the ridiculous, I think, and end up with something that's far too long, but never mind. We can always trim it down. Okay. Pull that tight. Fiddle with the ends a bit. So we've got a nice small bow, and I find a finger works as a really nice spacer. And then trim your ends. Grab a card base, and I'm using a thick white card base. So this is half a sheet of card, just scored in the middle, and again we'll grab some liquid adhesive, scribble it on the back, and I do like to go over the ribbon just to make absolutely sure that that's got adhesive on it as well, and pop that down. And I like to turn over and then give it a good press. Now, on my original, I did do some stamping on the inside, which I will do. So I've got Sahara Sand for the long sentiment, and then soft sea foam full strength, half strength for the little dots either side. And I also need to add some elegant faceted gems, which are just gorgeous. I used the frosted first time around. I'm going to use the clear this time. The clear ones are fantastic for popping onto any colour cardstock. They're just brilliant at obviously therefore reflecting the colour that they are on. So I thought I'd put a little cluster there, and it fills that space that was a little annoying. So those are the two that are, in inverted commas, the same. But I also did one using the die cuts, and this again is soft sea foam and Sahara Sand, but I've used silver and champagne foil as well, just to make it a bit more glitzy. And this is the champagne foil for the back of the sentiment. So there you are, 3 really beautiful Peaceful Bough, Beautiful Bough cards. Hope you liked it. Do remember that if you would like to get your hands on the mini die cutter, you can either buy a voucher for a Christmas present, and I will order one for you as soon as they become live in January, which will be January the 5th. I will order it and send it straight to you. There's information about that on my website. I will send you an invoice. You can pay that, and then I send you a voucher, although I will already know that you want it. But if you're buying it for a friend or a family member, you can wrap up the gift voucher so that they know what they're getting, and they will be first in the queue. Alternatively, add it to a starter kit. £99 for the starter kit, £130 of product can go in it. The mini die cutter is £56, so you'll still have space left to put extra things in. No need to demonstrate, no need to sell, just enjoy the discount if that's what you would like. Thank you very much indeed for joining me today, and I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye!